Hello, and thank you for joining me in another of my monologues. As you can see, today I am not at home. I apologise for my absence a couple of days. I haven't produced a monologue. That's because I've been out travelling. And I am at the WTF Festival, which is the Weekend Truth Festival, up in Cumbria. And I can tell you that apart from a little bit of chemtrailing and a little bit of cloud cover, we've had some fantastic weather. Last year, this Truther Freedom event was apparently full of rain and people got stuck, their motors were stuck in the mud. We're at John Gates's farm in Cumbria. It's a fantastic place. Julia and I have been up to Cumbria before, of course, and we have made videos in the long distance past as the Bald Explorer exploring Cumbria. Those videos are on this channel. And we have also been through this area up towards Scotland for Barbara O'Neill events, and we've got one coming up. But anyway, we're here. There's not many people around at the moment because they're all listening to John Cook, the raw milk farmer from Dora's Dairy, who is giving a talk. I've seen the talk many times, so I'm sure he's quite happy for me to be missing it. So I can report a little bit about what I've been doing here. So this is a festival in which many of important speakers have been here, and there have been all sorts. And I'll put the link, if I remember, of the website so you can check out who was here and who you've missed. You may have seen them, of course, at other events around the countryside, because we're all travelling about, we're all going and trying to impart the important messages of what is going on in the world, but more importantly, the solutions. And my talk here, which really I suppose is going to likely to be one of the last talks I give at the moment because of the land project that Julia and I are doing, is the time is now. That has been the theme of my talk for the last few months. The time is now that we have got to start thinking about doing instead of talking. We've talked these subjects to death. We've been on YouTube, we've done the fear thing, we've talked about what the solutions are, and now it's time to actually start doing those. For Julia and I, that means, I'm sorry if there's any wind on the microphone, that means getting onto the land, growing things, being self-reliant, being self-sufficient, finding other people who are doing the same, bartering with them, trading our produce for their produce. Whether someone's got raw milk, for example, they may want tomatoes and potatoes. If somebody's got beef, they may want chickens, eggs and things. You know, the more we have of these smaller farmers growing and claiming back a little piece of God's earth, taking them back from the big corporations so they can't continue to put in their nonsense big lithium-ion batteries, their solar farms and their wind farms. From where we are, we can actually see these wind farms. This morning, Julia and I got out of our tent on site here, on the farm, on the earth here, I should say. Site is a bad word. And we saw these. There was no wind. And we saw these wind farms still turning. And thought, there's no wind. What is making them go round? Is it just a psyop? And in my opinion, it probably is. Maybe they do generate some to convince some engineers that something is actually happening. But I don't know. I'm not convinced that that is the way forward for green energy, if you want to call it green energy. Anyway, for us, being on the land is a very important thing. Now, I appreciate it's not for everybody. There will be people who want to live in their villages and their towns, but they'll want their community back. They want to cooperate with those people around them, and I don't blame them. Why shouldn't you? Instead of having to go to supermarkets, they may want to go to the old greengrocer, the butcher, the baker, and so on. And this is where people who are on the land, the small farms, can help supply them, and this is what we need to do. I asked in the tent today how many people still go to supermarkets, and half, more or less, half of the audience put their hand up. And I was absolutely agog, really. Well, we're only going for a few items and this, that and the other. And I just said And it's my opinion, and people can, of course, have their own opinion about this, but all the time you're going in, you're legitimising a supermarket who will soon be facial recognising you, will be taking the price tags off the shelves, and your digital ID, when it comes in, will be identifying you and pricing the item according to your so-called status. So if you've been a bad boy and been on YouTube and said some rather dodgy things, or said something on a Facebook account, or you haven't paid your council tax, or you haven't paid a parking ticket, or you've got a speeding fine, you won't need to have those bills, because the one thing we all need to do is eat. And if you go into the supermarkets and they get the IDs there and the facial recognition, they'll just up the price. So this lady buying a pint of milk might be 30p for her, excuse me, but somebody else coming in who has been a naughty person will be perhaps paying £1 or £1.50 for that same price of milk, because those fines, those bills and those taxes will be put on, so the price will change. We don't want any of that. So the more that people still go to the supermarkets and keep them in business, the more that that is likely to happen. And we do need to make that change. And now is the time. And that's what my talk here was about. John Cook's talking about raw milk and the importance of that, and the farming business and how farmers are being attacked. You've got Clive Edwards, who is here doing a talk talking about lawful ways of approaching evidence to show that it's true. We've had numerous other. Tess Laurie has been here doing her talks. I'm just trying to think of some of the other names. Mark Steele has been here. Of course, Mark the bowler hat farmer has been talking about the farming. And I'm doing another thing a little bit later on, where we've got a table of farmers and food, and we're going to be discussing what should happen and getting ideas and questions from the audience. I'm only the host of the event, so I'm not the expert in any means, but hopefully the experts, including John Gate, whose farm this is, will be contributing to that story. Food, of course, and water is one of the most important things that we need to preserve. And we know that the dark forces are out to take back all this land. And we've seen how the government has been operating with their inheritance tax, how they've shortchanged the pensioners with the heating allowance and that stuff in the winter, the winter fuel payments. And Mr. Starmer is doing a marvellous job of showing how government is really not listening to ordinary, everyday people. And in my talk, I did mention that perhaps one of the solutions that we should think about is, if we're not happy, then perhaps we need to turn our backs on those who think that they have the authority to control us. Also, of course, within the area, there are all these lovely booths, tents, marquees, where discussions are going on, and of course people demonstrating some of their wares, some of their sovereign, what do you call it, metrics, not medallions, what's the word, modalities, something like that. I'm doing this all on the spot. So we've got, you can't quite see her, Victoria Rickson has been here, the whistleblower midwife, and she's been talking about all the atrocious things that have been happening in the NHS, public enemy number one, with mothers who are having babies. If you are one of those young mothers, or if you are a grandmother and your daughter or some friend of yours is about to have a baby, for goodness sake, do avoid the NHS. It does seem that their whole system is not geared to giving pregnant mothers a good time. And of course you can find out more about her, Victoria Rickson, by checking her out on all her social media. Just put her name in, you'll find it in Google. So this is what I've been doing. It's been absolutely fantastic. We've met some wonderful people, as we always do. And of course I know I mentioned it several times, been telling people about Biggleswick, the town that wouldn't comply. and it's a fascinating read. If you want to find out about the town that managed to turn their backs on authority, the book will be out probably in another month or so's time. Just keep an eye on this channel and I'll let you know when it's coming out. But fortunately, a lot of people said they're interested in finding out more about Biggleswick, the town that wouldn't comply. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to enjoy my tea. It's been lovely to chat to you. Till next time, goodbye.